move this so you guys over there can see a little bit. This is one of the questions that like Google and Facebook and those types of companies like to ask when you go to the interview for a job. Why are manhole covers round?
They don't fall in the hole.
So they don't fall in the hole. Right? There's a little flange inside of there, and circles are a constant diameter. So even if you stand it up on edge, it can't fall down in the hole and land on the guy, an unfortunate soul, down the bottom of the hole or in the sewer pipes. Do they have to be round? Kind of a leading question, right? What's that?
It could be square, just fitting.
No, because a square, if you put it diagonal, it's going to fall down through. Yeah. Same thing with the circles, triangles. Here's an interesting shape. It's called a Rolu triangle. And it's basically formed by taking a vertex from each of those points and inscribing an arc. And you can actually do manhole covers that are that shape, a Rolu triangle. So we're going to try to approximate that on the lake. Oh, and by the way, they don't have to be a triangle. It can be done with any odd-sided polygon. So you can have a Rolu pentagon or a Rolu, the next one, the septagon. I think it's a septagon. And a Rolu nonagon with 9 sides. So this is going to be our approximation of a Rolu triangle. So we're going to find 3 points on each end of our blank. And then we're going to turn a circle on one of those points, and then we're going to move to the second point and turn a circle there. We're going to move to the third point, turn a circle there. And that's how we're getting that triangular shape. So how do we locate our centers? It's actually very simple. We can do it with just a straight edge and a compass. So we mark a line corner to corner, find our center in the other direction, the other x, and then we take a compass and we strike a circle from that true center point. That gives us one of our points that's going to be 120 degrees apart. The point that's opposite that point, so that red circle is one of our 3 points that we use. The circle up, or the point opposite that point, the green circle in this case, we're going to set our compass on that point without changing the radius of our compass at all. Nothing changes on the compass. And then we're going to draw another circle like that. Where those 2 circles overlap, that point and that point are our 3 centers. And they're 120 degrees apart, perfectly 120 degrees apart. So we're going to do this on both sides of our blank. And I'll actually do one on one of these blanks, but we're going to go through this first. So one of the important things is to keep the blank parallel. So I always kind of designate one of the corners of the blank as, let's see if I can get my laser pointer going there. That's one point. I'm always going to kind of keep that true, keep that up. From that, I'm going to strike a line on each side of the blank, and you'll notice that these 2 lines are parallel. That's very important to keeping these blanks the way we want to get them to get that 120-degree twist. So how do we induce the twist? Well, we need to find our center on both ends. So we're going to go through the same routine that we just went through. Find our point. We're going to go opposite that. Strike another circle down there. And I usually just do an arc. I don't really need to do the full circle. We just got to cross the original circle with 2 points. And that gives us our 3 points on each end. Then we can start to number the points. I always start on the A side of the box, where I consider the top of the box. And it's just a habit. It works either way. But I would start at that point, the original point, as point number 1. And then I just simply number this side of the box, the top of the box, going clockwise. So that becomes point number 2, and that becomes point number 3. Pretty simple. Then on the other end of the box, I do not want that to be point number 1, because those 2 points would be parallel. We want to induce a twist. So we need to have that point number 1. It can be either one of the other 2 points, but it cannot be that 1 point. So that point needs to go away. I can put my number 1 there, and then I simply number these going counterclockwise. So that becomes 2, and then that becomes 3. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay. Any questions so far?
Yeah, what was that first thing?
Question here.
If you didn't want 1 and 1 being the same, but this way you have 3 and 3 being the same.
There's a sucker in every group. Somebody always points that out. We're looking at them this way. When we move them this way, they're not parallel. It's coming up on the next slide. Yeah. So what happens if we number them the opposite way? What if I go number 1 in that corner? And again, I'm going to go counterclockwise. That becomes 2 and that becomes 3. Now this, you point out that number 2 is parallel, right? Again, we're looking at them this way. If we look at it this way, they're not. One gives me a right hand twist, the other one gives me a left hand twist. I've never taken the time to figure out which is which. I probably should do that one of these days. So if I'm doing a pair of things and I want to twist in the same direction, I number them at the same time. If I want to twist in the opposite direction, I still number them at the same time, but I just move my starting point. So here's where we show that they are not parallel. So I've taken these and I've just kind of flipped them around. So there's my blank. So 1 is parallel to 2, 3 is parallel to 1, and 2 is parallel to 3. But we don't want to do parallel ones. We want to do twist. Twist is the cool stuff. So when we put this on the leg, we go 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and then 3. So we have to turn the outside 3 times. When we do this, though, so when we mount our blank, and let's call this point 1 and point 1, you can see that our piece is off axis, and that's where the twist actually comes from. I'm basically just going to turn a straight line. That's all I'm really doing for the outside of the box is turning a straight line. And when we do that, those go away. Those 2 points kind of go away. Well, then we shift everything to our second axis, and again, I turn a straight line, and those points go away. If you notice, when I go back to my true center, I have a bulge in there. And that's okay, that's all right. If you want to get rid of that, the trick to getting rid of that is turning a very shallow cove, extremely shallow cove along the entire length of the blank. That kind of straightens it out and get rid of that bulge in the center. A couple of tips before we get started. Number on the inside of your points of the circle whenever possible. If you number on the outside, you're much more likely to turn those points away. Don't ask me how I know that. Number 2, a larger circle will result in flatter sides, sides with less of a curve, but you're much more likely to turn those points away. Start on the small side. 1 inch diameter is really all you really need to do. When I go and do this demo at local events and rock around woodcraft and whatever, I usually borrow a nickel from somebody in the crowd. And just put it on there, trace it, and offset it, trace it. It's not perfectly 120 degrees apart, but they can't tell. Always rotate the piece by hand to make sure you have clearance on the tool rest. Pretty basic turning stuff. To counteract the bulge in the middle, we talked about that. I'm going to do this as a lidded box, and I can start by passing this around. I do the inside first before I do the outside. And it needs to be a pretty tight fit, because as this is spinning around, it can actually untwist if it's not tight enough. So this is a pretty tight fit. We can loosen that up a little bit after a while. A few more tips. For even faces, I generally just kind of eyeball the width of each face. You can also check the reveal of the joints. You can actually open it up and see how much room you have left on each face compared to the tendon or recess on the inside. That's my dog whistle at home. Yeah. You can also check the reveal or the amount of wood left relative to the tendon on the top and the bottom of your box. But remember, the tendons on the top and your bottom may not be the same size. So you can check the top, the 3 sides against each other, and the bottom 3 sides against each other. You can't really necessarily compare the top to the bottom. If one face is narrower than one of the other faces, that's the face that you need to turn on. It's a little bit counterintuitive. The narrow face is the one that you need to remove more material off of. But as you remove that material, you're actually cutting back and it's cutting away material on the jointed sides. It's a little bit weird to think about it that way, but it's true. The face you're turning is located opposite the point. The point is opposite the face that you want to turn. So if you're
won't fit.
You can kind of trace it. If you do happen to turn away your numbers, it's a really easy way to figure that out. Take the face, and the point is going to be directly opposite that face. And the inside of the box is turned first, so we need to remember that the box is hollow when we're turning the outside. We don't want to get too aggressive and remove too much material. So why do I do the inside first? We turn the
outer one.
What's that?
Too hard to out when you get
No, it's
the
easy.
outside. The outside.
Sure. We just have a tenon on the bottom. Not a problem. Ideally, when I'm done with these, you can see with the one that's going around, when I'm done with the piece, I want the grain to match. And of course, I want the twist to match. If we take our box and we do the outside first, and then we cut it in half like we're doing a lidded box, when we put it back together, I can have the grain match, but the twist would be a little bit offset. Or I can have the twist line up, but then the grain isn't going to match. So to get this to work how I want it to work, I have to do the inside first. If I do the inside first, and I account for that curve and the tenon and recess and all that stuff, put it back together with the grain line, then I do the twist. That way I'm ensured that the grain and the twist of the line of the box is complete. All right, enough talking. A few sample pictures. So these are called cherry with pyrography. The one is going around the room here. These are one's rosewood, one's olive. These, if you look carefully, do have an opposite twist. So the rosewood on the left, I consider that a right-hand twist. As it goes up, it twists to the right. The olive on the left, as it goes up, it twists to the left. These are mulberry candlesticks, kind of in the Rudy Osselnick style. These twist in opposite directions. This was a peppermill that I did. That was kind of fun. And then we did a tool handle challenge in my club in Arizona a few years ago. So I turned a curly maple, a 20-inch long curly maple handle with a 120-degree twist on three sides. A little less comfortable in use than I expected it to be, but still pretty fun. So. All right, so let's actually do one of the layouts live. Wait for Bob to get set up on the projector there. Okay. So this is the blank that I'm going to start off with. Just to do the layout, I'm going to cut it, I'm going to hollow it. Then we will swap out to the one that's been passed around the room, the one that's been pre-hollowed, just to be able to save a little bit of time. So on this blank, I'm going to pick one corner. Doesn't really matter which one. And just for the sake of you guys, I'm going to mark that corner with a marker there. So that is going to be essentially, that's the corner that I'm going to keep up whenever I do my layout. So on this end, and it doesn't really matter, we'll consider this side A. I'm going to strike a line, corner to corner, like that. And you can see that that line is parallel to that corner of the blank that I marked there. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm very careful to maintain that line sticking up, or pointing up rather. And again, I'm just going to strike a line corner to corner there. So we're going to call this B. Just because so A is the top, B is the bottom. Doesn't really matter. I need to find my true center here. So we'll go there. Again, rotate it around to keep my orientation. And there's my true center there. So now I can take and mark those two centers. Now I'm going to grab my compass, and I've preset it to about a 1/2 inch radius. That's going to give me about a 1 inch diameter circle. I didn't actually measure it. And I'm just going to scribe a circle all the way around. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite end. Slipped off there. And on this size of blank, I could definitely go bigger, but trust me, go on the conservative side as you do this. So now I've determined one of my 3 points. So that's going to be one of my 3 points. And I always do that closest to that line. I'll do that on that side as well. So my compass now needs to set on the point that's opposite that point. So this thing. In the slideshow, this was my red circle, this was my green circle. So I'm going to set my compass there, and I'm going to strike an arc, and it should go right through the center, just like that. So that gives me now my other 2 points. So I've got 3 points 120 degrees apart. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite end. So this is my point there that's closest to the line. Take my compass, set it on the point opposite that point, and strike my arc. And again, that should go right through my true center point. So now I've got my other 2 points there. So I've got 3 points, 120 degrees apart, parallel on each side. So now I need to number them. Side A is the top of my box. This is point number 1, and now I need to number this going clockwise. So this becomes 2, and this becomes 3. All right? Now again, I'm going to rotate the piece around. This is point number 1 on the opposite side. I do not want this to be point number 1. I can put point number 1 here or point number 1 here. One gives me a right hand twist, one gives me a left hand twist. The only important thing is it doesn't matter which one I do, I just need to number them counterclockwise. So I generally make this one point number 1. Again, it doesn't really matter. And now we go again counterclockwise. So this becomes 2 and this becomes 3.
So one end is clockwise and the other end is counterclockwise?
Yes, and I also offset the starting point. You have to do both of those things. Then when we put this on the lathe, it's really very simple and straightforward. It's 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3. I know there's a couple other turners who do multi-axis demos like this. Barbara Dill is probably the most famous one. She doesn't do her numbering like this. She numbers the points basically parallel. So 1 and 1 are parallel, 2 and 2 are parallel, 3 and 3 are parallel. But then when she puts it on the lathe, it's 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 1, and she has to think about that and keep track of it. What happens if I drop this on the floor and I pick it up and I go 3 to 1 instead of 1 to 3? If you do the numbering like this, it's a no-brainer. 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3. So we're ready to start turning. We're actually going to start off on our true center. The first thing I'm going to do is put a tenon on each end. I'm going to make a box, so I need to hollow it out, both the top and the bottom. So I need tenons. Anybody have a question? Any questions about the points? We will do it one more time. Lock that down, make sure everything's nice and tight.
So do you have a ratio of the height to the final diameter that you like, that you find kind of like pleasing versus?
You talking about like height of the box? Like
yeah, height to what your end diameter is going to be.
No, I don't. The length of the blank doesn't matter. You get a 120-degree twist, whether it's this long or this long. And I've done like spindles that were this long. That's an adventure. Because you can't put a steady rest on it. It's not round. Rich?
When you're doing your circles, what does the variation in the size of the end circle mean for the shape of the twist?
It doesn't mean anything for the shape of the twist itself. What you're talking about is the flatness of the faces.
Okay.
So if we do this, so if this is my center point, and I'm turning a circle like that, if we take a look at a 1-inch segment of that circle, it's got a fairly large radius. Well, if my circle that I turn is that big, if we look at 1 inch of that circle, that's pretty flat. What if I turn a circle that big and I take a look at 1 inch? That's essentially completely flat. In fact, there's a special turning technique called therming that they do this technique, where they also call it barrel turning. So if you imagine putting a wine barrel between centers and turning the outside of that wine barrel and then disassembling it, each one of those staves that compose that wine barrel look basically flat. That's what therming actually is. It's a really cool technique. Art Leisman is fairly well known for therming, and he's a really good demonstrator that you should.
Yeah, it can.
Okay, all right. That must have been before my time. All right, so we're going to put a tenon on each end, and then we're going to cut this in half. So I have taken off my watch, I've taken off my wedding ring, I'm wearing full face shield. So quick tenon on each end. My tenons don't need to be very long. But they do need to fit in my cup. Put a little bit of a dovetail on this one. I don't have enough of a dovetail on that. As far as chucks go, I am a Nova guy. That's just my personal preference. Nothing wrong with one way or the car or whatever. I really, really like my Novas. In fact, I think they kind of dropped the ball. They just introduced the Nova Titan 3. If you want a really big chuck, they just reintroduced it. I have one of the original Titan chucks. I've been looking for a set of Titan Power Grip jaws for about 8 years. And they just introduced the Titan 3 Power Grip jaws. They're sitting on my front porch tonight. I hope they're still there when I get home. I'm using the same parting tool. Just cutting all the way through the blank. One other piece of advice, I didn't include it in the tips, and every time I've taught this class, somebody has always done it. Do not true up the ends of your blank. You will turn away your points, you will turn away the numbers that you just very carefully laid out. Someone in every class always does that. One last thing I do kind of get in the habit of doing is I mark that, just so that I know how the box goes back together. It's a simple thing, and if your grain is very prominent like this, it'd be pretty easy to tell. It's usually pretty easy to tell where it goes back together, but it's one of those little things that just makes life a little bit easier if you remember to do it. So now we need to put this in the chuck. So we'll get rid of our drive center for now. We will need that later. All of the multi-axis part is going to be done between centers. So the only point that we actually need to chuck is for hollowing this out. So I always do the top of the box first. I also always make a recess in the top of my box, and the body of my box gets a tenon. It's just a habit I've gotten into over the years. Plus, I think it's a lot easier to fit a tenon to a recess than it is to try and fit a recess to a tenon. Anyone agree or disagree? Agree. So that's just the habit that I've always gotten into. So we'll get this out of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to true up this face. That's a fairly short range for that photo tool. Lower my tool rest just a little bit. Okay. End grain hollowing, not the easiest or funnest thing to do. Alright. I need to check this for flatness. A couple of ways you can do that. If you've got a ruler, that's always nice. I've got this thin parting tool, so I can put that on there and check it for flatness. In a pinch, the back of your gouge will work just fine as well. And if you look, you guys probably can't see it, but I can actually see a little bit of a gap in there. So I'm a little bit high, just out on the sides. So I just need to remove a little tiny bit of material out towards the corners. I need to get this as flat as possible, both halves of the box as flat as possible. Not removing very much material at all, and I'm pretty happy with that. It's good enough. So the next operation is I need to put a little recess in there. I also need to clean out the inside of that a little bit better. So to clean that out, I'm going to use a scraper. It's end grain. So I'm going to back off my tool rest a little bit. Also, I'm going to raise it above center height so that my scraper is pointing downhill. This is not going to be those light, wispy boxes that you pick up and they're super light. This is going to have a fair amount of heft to it, if for nothing else that we're making a triangular box with a round hole in the middle. So we have material in the corners that we can't get rid of. So this box will have some heft to it no matter what we do. So recess in the lid. So I'm just going to take my parting tool and just put it right through in. And that's it for the inside of the lid. Any questions so far?
So, because it's end grain following, I noticed that you did your scraping from the center out.
Yeah.
Is that just to get like the best possible cut with the grain?
Yeah. On end grain, your best cut is pulling from the center out. If you push, you're pushing into those fibers. So we'll take this out, we'll set it aside for a minute. We'll put the body in the box. Again, my first operation here is going to be to true up this face. I'm not terribly worried about this face because the only part of this that's going to be visible in the finished product of this surface is the top of the tenon, which is only going to be, an eighth of an inch wide or so. So we'll true this up. And I'm not going to check this for flatness because it's the top of the tenon, it doesn't really matter. So now I need to form the tenon itself. So the area outside of the tenon, that I need to be flat because that's my mating surface to the lid of the box. Inside of the tenon, I don't care, that's going to be hollowed out in a minute. That's the That's the hollow on the inside of the box.
So I'm going to remove a fair amount of material here. Not too tall, I don't want to be too tall. In fact, I may end up coming back and removing more material off of my tenant just to make it shorter. So outside of my tenant, that's the area that I'm concerned with. That needs to be flat. That's my main surface.
And now we can try to sneak up on the fit on the lid. So there's my line, so I want to make sure those two are lined up. I'm not even close to starting yet.
Starting to go on the tenant, I should say. Just looking at this, I can tell already.
My tendon is way too long for this lid. So there, my lid is starting to go on. It's starting to go on. So now I'm going to start to straighten out that taper on the tendon. Again, I do need this to be a pretty tight fit. We can loosen it up a little bit later. There. So we're good on the fit on our tendon. So now I'm just going to drill this out just to get rid of the majority of the waste material in there.
Just glue it.
What's that?
Just glue it together.
But then I can't open the box. The drill bit? I'm on the high-speed pulley, so I'm losing a bit of torque. I'll turn that a little bit deeper. If I were in the slow speed pulling, had more torque and it wasn't stalling out, I would drill that deeper, but we can turn it deeper. So now I'm going to hollow this out a little bit more, both the depth and also the width. I'm going to open up the inside a little bit more. I generally shoot for about an 1/8 inch wall thickness on my tenon.
Something this week, I'm
Probably faster turning than I would be drilling anyway. So we'll go just a little bit deeper.
Now, when you're making your tendons, you did not round the hole down on purpose?
Sorry?
You did not round the hole blank when you're making your tendons. Was that on purpose? Or just because you don't need to?
I can get a larger triangle out of a square blank than if I turned it around. It's also a lot safer if I didn't want to part this, if I were doing it at home, I'd take it to the bandsaw, and it's a lot easier cutting a square blank, much safer too, cutting a square blank on the bandsaw than it is a cylinder. I had an accident with the bandsaw about 10 years ago, so I'm very wary of round pieces on the bandsaw and rolling and that. So I always leave them square. Plus, I can get a bigger triangle out of a square blank than I can around.
all right, a little bit more hollow. bottom here.
And then we'll go in with the scraper and clean that up. Again, I'm going to raise the tool rest up, back it off a little bit.
I tend to start right in the bottom. And then like Don said, I usually do a filter coming up the side.
And we'll call that good for the inside. I would sand the inside at this point. I would have sanded the inside of the lid already. It's a demo piece, so I'm not going to do any of that. So now we can take this out of the chuck. We're done with the chuck at this point. Should be done with it for the rest of the demo, actually. There's my box back together. Grain lines up pretty well. And now we can go and do the outside. Any questions here? Fairly normal, other than doing the inside first. All right, so we'll set this aside, and we will go back between centers. Do you guys want me to do the layout one more time? You sure? Anybody want it one more time? No shame in asking. Okay, Dawn wants it one more time. Dawn wants me to use the board that she said what I generously don't. We'll do it one more time. We'll do it up here a little bit larger. So this is my blank. There's my square blank. There's my square blank. So we'll call this A, and we'll call this B. So I'm going to take the common corner. We're going to use this as our common corner. I'm going to strike a line, corner to corner, that way, on both ends of the blank. Then I'm going to find my true center by striking a line there, like that. I'm going to take my compass, I'm going to set it on my true center point, and I'm going to draw a circle. I'm doing the same on both ends. I'm not changing the diameter or the radius on the compass. I'm not changing anything. That gives me one of my 3 points. There and there. So I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to set it opposite that point. So I'm going to set the compass there and there. And I'm going to draw another circle. I'm only going to do half a circle. So my compass is here, so I'm going to strike an arc that way. So that it goes there, right through the center point. Just like that. That gives me my other 2 points. There and there, where the 2 circles overlap. Same thing there and there. So on side A, I can number this as point number 1.
Well, step back. The diameter of that second part,
Yes.
is it arbitrary?
It's the exact same circle as this one. Nothing changes on the compass. These 2 are exactly the same diameter. I'm just not drawing it very well.
Thank you.
All right. So this becomes my point number 1. That's just habit. I always remember that as point number 1, and then I can number these going clockwise. So this becomes 2, and this becomes 3. Then on B, the other side, this is parallel to point number 1, because this is my common corner. So I can put 1 here or 1 here. I have the habit of putting it there, and then I simply number these counterclockwise. So that becomes 2, and that becomes 3. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to come up afterward. So now we can turn this, and I'm just going to be back between centers. I'm just going to use a spindle roughing gouge. So I'm going to go to point number 1 there. To point number 1 there. And I don't know if I didn't point it out before, but I am using one of those like sorbet step centers or the multi-tooth centers. If you're using a normal 4-prong center, it's not going to really bite into the wood enough. So those multi-tooth centers, it has about 20 little individual teeth all the way around the perimeter. Much, much better for multi-axis work like this. So we're going to tighten this down pretty tight, because this piece, if it comes unscrewed, could actually come off. And then for turning, like I said, I'm just going to use my spindle roughing gouge. I'm just going to turn a true cylinder. So I'm going to set up my tool rest basically parallel to the ways. Rotate the piece by hand. This is especially important now because we're off axis. You can kind of see that, you know, I'm really high here and I'm really low there. So it's really easy to set your tool rest up, you know, like that. Oh, I'm going to clear. You turn the lathe on and you hit. So it's very important where we're off axis a lot like this. Always rotate the tool rest by hand. So now we can actually start turning.
I'm going to turn this up fairly fast. We're right at 2,000 RPM. And I'm just going to turn a straight line. You'll notice I'm not
Making my cuts out here. You know, I've got everything tucked into my body. I'm nice and tight, and I'm moving my whole body back and forth. That's where you get a lot of your control. And you know, we've got a ways to go still, but you can actually start to see that twist already starting to form.
do more cuts on this side. It's important to remember at this point,
This is hollow inside. So you can see my flat face here and my flat face here that I actually do have a twist going around that direction. So we'll call that good for face number one for now. We may need to come back to it. There's no shame in coming back to a face that you've turned before, whether you just need to remove more material or you need to even up the faces. So I'm going to go to point number 2 on that end. And I'm a little bit tight here, there we go. And point number 2 on this end. Again, rotate the piece by hand. I do want the tool rest to be kind of as close as we can get it, a 1/4 inch or so. But I always want to rotate it by hand to make sure I have clearance.
and then again here, I'm just going to turn straight line. I can turn either direction. Stop and check our progress.
So this is the face I'm turning right now. This is the face that I just turned a second ago, and this is the line where those two faces meet. That's where our twist actually happens. So we're probably okay on face number 2, so we'll go to face number 3. While we do that though, I just want to show you, just to demonstrate, I'm going to take my blank and I'm going to flip it over. Doesn't matter, because the axis is the same. It doesn't matter which side is towards the headstock and which side is towards the tailstock. The twist still happens. When I was first playing around with this and trying to figure it out and learn this stuff, and I'd seen a few videos and a few things here and there, I wondered in my head, I'm like, okay, if I put it on this way, do I get a right hand twist? And if I flip it over, do I get a left hand twist? No, it doesn't work that way. So I don't normally flip it over like this. I'm just showing you guys you can do it. And we'll turn it and twist it over. Going to speed up, take a lighter finishing touch. Stop and see how we did. So this is the face that I'm turning right now. It's the one closest to the tool rest. It's also furthest away from the point that I'm turning on. This face is fairly wide. That face is about the same, maybe a little bit narrower. This face is much narrower. So this face is opposite the point number one. So to widen this face out, I need to go back to number one and turn more away from this face. It's a little bit counterintuitive. I'm cutting a board shorter to make it wider. Make any sense? If we think about it though, if we kind of draw a little bit of a picture, what if my board didn't have straight sides? What if the board that I'm cutting was shaped like that? The more I cut off of here, the wider that face gets. That's basically what's happening. It's a little bit counterintuitive that the sides of the smallest is the one that you need to cut away material off of, but that's effectively how it works. You're cutting on a wedge. The further down you cut, the wider the face of that wedge is.
The criteria for going when you go from 1 to 2, is that you just trial and error, or where do you stop when you're doing the first one? You're doing the 1-to-1?
When you're first starting out, I would stop early. There's no shame in going back 2, 3, 4 times. I usually make sure that I have a full sweep going around, and I'm looking for it to go a little bit more than a third of the way around, 40, maybe even up to 50%. And then the other two faces, try and do the same thing. We talked about a little bit during the presentation ways to make sure that this is, visually we can look at the faces and we can see. We can visually check the width of the faces. We can also check the reveal here on the inside. So this is narrower, so that's my wide face. I don't want to take any more material off of this. This one's fatter, this one's in the middle. So I need to take a little bit off of this face and quite a bit more off of this face to get those three even. We can do the same thing basically down here with my tenon. So I'm all the way into my tenon here. I'm not quite to my tenon there, and I'm just barely into my tenon there. I can do the same thing on this end. So this end, I'm right at the edge of my tenon. You can see that I've barely taken out the corner there. That one I'm not quite down to it, and this one I still have quite a ways to go. So you've got 3 ways you can kind of check your wall thickness in addition to just visually checking the width of each face. And then we make sure that we put it back together the exact same way it came apart.
And you're doing that by the grain?
You can do it by the grain, but I tend to line up the actual curve. So I line up the points on the curve. The grain isn't necessarily going to be 100%, but the curve is, I think, a better gauge for doing that. So back to face number 1, just need to remove a little bit of material from that. And then I think we'll have to remove just a hair from side number 2, and then we should be able to do the top and the bottom. So this is my narrow face. I'm opposite that on this point. I'm opposite it on this side. So if I happen to have turned my numbers away, you can easily just go opposite the face that you need to turn on. So we'll turn a little bit more on this. Welcome, check.
If you turn a shape, you've got to do it 3 times.
Yes. Yeah. And if you guys haven't seen, Mark McClure is just at Mark Adams. Took a class with Mark Spheri and Michael Hasseluk. Mark has some really interesting pieces, same basic technique that Maltex with the twist. He's got some stuff I've never seen before where he's basically turned a series of coves on each of the 3 faces. Really, really cool technique, and it looks like he did milk paint on one of them and then knocked it down a little bit. So check those out in the gallery. That's actually really, really cool. I wish I thought of that. All right, so this was the face that we were just turning. I have a little bit of tear out there. It's a demo piece. I know you end up with it. It's gonna end up with a little bit of tear out.
At what point can you sand and finish?
You can sand with this on the lathe. I wouldn't recommend sanding by hand, simply because, I mean, you can, but you're going to have a tendency to roll these corners over. So I would get like a board, get a 1x4 pine board or whatever, and like glue the sandpaper to that so that it can't flex and roll over those corners. A lot of times, if you get good enough and get really good cuts, I would just go by hand. Kind of with the grain along each of the faces, being careful not to round those over. Finish for me is always off the lathe. I never apply anything on the lathe, and I just use Watco Danish oil. That's all I have to use. So face number 1 looks good. This is face number 3. That looks pretty good as well. So now number 2 is my narrow face, and again we can kind of check against our tendons there and down here. Those are pretty even. A little bit more on 2 there. These are fairly even. I could take maybe, I could take 1 more cut. Famous last words, right? 1 more cut.
1 more.
There's 1 more cut. So we'll try and get rid of that tear out.
Can you turn down to the tenon and use the guide?
Yeah.
But basically what I'm doing is using the material I have left at the tenon relative to each other. I can't necessarily compare this end to this end because my tenons, I didn't measure anything. I just eyeballed. These 2 tenons may not be the same size, but I can compare these 3 sides here and these 3 sides here. But I can't necessarily compare this one to this one. That's a little bit better. Most of it, there's still a little bit of tear out on that joint. But we'll go to side number 2, and then we'll finish off the top and bottom. Side number 2, 2 on this end, 2 on this end. And I don't have to think about it like, not Dixie Biggs, Barbara Dillon. I don't have to think 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 1. I do my numbering, the numbering induces a twist, and I don't have to think about it. 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, turn a straight line, and the twist happens. Don't have to remove much material off of that. Remember, as we're cutting on this face, we're also removing material from each of the 2 adjoining faces simultaneously. So you can make this face the widest face in a hurry because you're removing material from both of the other 2. I think we can take 1 more light cut.
Now,
why are you using spindle work?
The tool unloads these two for turning.
Just a straight cylinder and get a really good cut, really good finish with it. It's just my preferred tool for this. If you can turn this with, you know, a spindle gouge or a bowl gouge, you can turn it with a skew, more power to you. My skew's at home and I'm on my workbench waiting for me to open up the next paint can. All right, so we'll call that good. You know, we could go back and maybe touch up each side. We could definitely do a little bit of sanding. But we've got our 3 sides with the twist, which is what we want. So to finish off the top and the bottom of the box, I would like to use jam chucks. So if you were here last month, you may recognize that. That's the one I made here last month during my demo. It's lived in my car since that last demo. I never took it out. You could use a jam chuck that goes into, a jam chuck that goes into the chuck. Just chuck up a little chunk of wood and do it that way. But I really like these. They're really convenient. Just threads directly onto the spindle. If I can get this open, this is always the problem with doing these so tight. All right. So we'll do the body first.
What do you do to loosen that up to make it bendable? I mean,
We're going to do that right now.
oh,
So I got really lucky with that fit.
do that twice.
I did that. Well, Mark, you saw that. I did that in Kansas City during my demo. I turned the Saturn bowl, and then I went to jam chuck it. I took the jam chuck out, put it in the chuck, and it just fit perfect the very first time. But because my jam chuck was in a tenon, it was a little bit off center. It was enough off that I had to return it. So, but that was pretty cool to pull it out, and it just went right on there. And then I ruined the piece. I blew it up. All right. So I can bring my tailstock back up here into my true center point. I should be on my true center. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go in with my parting tool and I'm just going to reduce the diameter of that tenon by just a hair, just a whisker. I'm not even going to take shavings off of it. It's just going to be dust, basically. We'll stop and check that. Hopefully it's not too small now. Yeah, we can take off just a tiny bit more. It's still too tight. But I am just taking a whisker. I don't have any alignment marks, so I need to rely on the grain to get this matched up. We're still a little bit too tight. I do like these to be tight, but not so tight that you have to force it off. If you pick it up by the lid, I don't want it to fall off. I'm happy with that now. That's a good fit. A little bit of a pop to it. All right, so that's how you can adjust the tent. So I'm going to put it back on the jam chuck, and I'm going to finish off the bottom. So I'm going to go to a spindle gouge.
Just going to kind of round this off. And then go in and kind of undercut the base a little bit.
This is one of the few areas where you can reduce the weight just a little bit by undercutting and maybe even hollowing underneath there a little bit. As long as you know where the bottom of the inside is.
And I'm just going to try and get rid of that nub
In the middle there. As much of it as I can.
My jam chuck bit is not good enough that I would be able to actually turn without the tail locked in place.
We talked about this a little bit last month. If I were at home, I would have my vacuum chuck running as backup. Because this is hollow, it's airtight, more or less airtight through that spindle. So you can easily hook up a vacuum to that.
Just for a little bit of safety, a little bit of insurance.
Tiny bit of sandpaper to get rid of that little pip there. And there's the bottom. So do basically the same thing on top, except I'm not going to go concave. I'm going to go convex. So I'm going to need to turn this down to fit that.
And this is one of the nice things about this jam chuck. You just turn it. But basically, scrap wood. Actually, we have this for a couple of years at a time.
So it's only pretty good. I'm happy with that. I could maybe come back and shorten the length of that tenon a little bit so my box actually fits against the face that I just turned there. But I'm not real worried about it. I will bring up the live center, again, just to be on the safe side with things.
Spindle gouge again. And I'm just going to turn this convex on the top. I do need to remove enough material to get rid of my symmetry.
See if I need to go any deeper. Looks like I'm all right.
I'm going to have to go a little bit deeper right at the top. I'm going to start the curve and flatten it out just a little bit further back.
This one, I think I am tight enough that I can do this without this.
So now all of my cuts, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. All of my cuts need to be going this way. I can no longer cut this way because I can force it off the jam chuck. One large cut. I am cutting this way, but I'm applying a lot of pressure with the heel of the gouge back towards the headstock.
Little touch of sandpaper there, a little ring there. There we go. Lidded box with a twist. Got a rolling pin that I did for the spindle challenge. Completely non-functional, but I don't care. And then actually did a honey dipper. The handle is 3 sides with a twist, as well as the head. It's also 3 sides with a twist. So I hope you learned a lot. I hope you try it, play with it. It's a lot of fun. It's really not that difficult. The twist is all in the numbering, and I have a system for it. If you have any problems or questions or anything, email, call, whatever. Nick?
When you were doing the early presentation, is that on a disc?
No.
No. Okay.
I can make it available. It's on my work laptop. Anything else?
Selection of wood.
I played with blocks.
Quarter sawn would work better.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Round's round.
How about doubling the number of points?
You could.
Would it,
I have obviously 3 we did. 4 is easy. 4 is just across.
okay.
5, I have instructions to do it with the compass. It's pretty complicated. 6, you basically do this and then do it twice on opposite sides. I think once you get about 5 or so faces, it starts to get pretty round again. So I really like 3. I think it looks the best. It's easy to do. That's my personal choice. As far as wood goes, I've had a lot of luck with cherry. Maple, I go on the harder side of things. I've done olive, I've done rosewood. I keep coming back to cherry. It's cheap, it's plentiful, it turns well, looks good. So that's what I keep coming back to.
And if you were to alter the straight cut when you have them all set up, it'll make it slightly concave. I know part of it will disappear in the center area, correct?
Say that again?
Okay, after you have all the segments turned, you were leveling it out straight across with your cut. What would happen if you made a slight concaveness toward the center?
It's a little bit weird where it curves down and where it curves back up. The curve looks like it goes faster.
It's lost.
But then the curve sort of flattens out in the center of that. It's an interesting effect, and Margaret Dill plays with that a lot. And I did that on the candlesticks, the pair of candlesticks. It gives you a different look to the twist. It's still 120 degrees.
But don't you lose your points when that happens?
You can. You have to be very careful. That's why I recommend a small circle. It won't give you, your faces won't be as flat, but you're less likely to turn your points away. Yes?
What did you say you used for finish?
Walking Danish oil, natural color. That's all I ever use. Yes. I don't do the walnut or do they make a cherry? I don't do natural walk Danish. All right, thank you very much. That's yours.